Morning. I'm going to be making a new recipe for some bread that I found online because my bread was so dense, it wasn't fluffy, so I'm trying this new recipe to see how it works out. So follow along with me. And so the first thing we're going to do, I've already ground up my fresh flour, and so this is hard white wheat that I ground. But so one of the things I saw online is if you'll sift the flour first, that it will get a lot of the bran out and make it lighter. So that's what I'm going to do first. I've got a sifter here, and then I have my flour, and so I'm going to go ahead and sift my flour. So let me turn this down so you can see. So I'm going to take the scoop and I'm going to put the flour through my sifter. I used to watch my grandmother do this all the time. She was always making cakes, and she always sifted her flour before she made her cakes from scratch. And I remember sitting there and watching her do this, and I don't really know why. I don't think she ever gave me an explanation why, but it does make the flour, I don't know, it makes it fluffier. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to make it fluffier. So this recipe calls for 4 to 5 cups of fresh ground wheat. It also is 1.5 cups of warm water, 1 tablespoon of yeast, and 1/3 cup of honey, and 1/3 cup of either olive oil or melted butter. So I'm going to use butter in this recipe and see how that works. I usually use olive oil, but I'm going to go ahead and try this one. Well, and just make sure hand time. So we're sifting our flour. So I'm going to pause it while I finish this. See, the bran has separated the chaff and stuff. My grinder is actually missing its separator in it, so I'm trying to separate some of this thicker stuff that's in the flour. So that's what I've done. I've already got it all sifted up, and I'm going to dump out this bran so that hopefully it will be a lighter flour and a much fluffier bread. So first I'm going to put in my bowl, I'm going to add 1.5 cup of honey. And this is raw honey that we got from our bees a few years ago. And honey never goes bad. It always will stay good. Even if it crystallizes, you can just put it in warm water to uncrystallize that sugar. But it is a natural antibiotic. So if you have a wound and you have natural honey that hasn't been pasteurized, like in a grocery store, the honey that they have there, they also cut down with corn syrup. So you're not really getting all honey, and what they do have, they pasteurize. So that kills all of the natural enzymes in the honey. So it's really useless, but if you can find a local farmer or someone local that has bees and buy all natural, unpasteurized honey, you can also put it on a wound. It will help heal that up. So God is so smart that He puts all these provisions and everything that we need in nature. So we need to learn what those are and learn to use those. So here's my honey. Now I'm going to get 1.5 cup of warm water up to like 110 degrees. So I'm going to go ahead and get that real quick. So I have my 1.5 cup of warm water. So I'm going to add that in here along with my honey. And I need to get all that out. I don't want to leave anything in there. I don't want to waste any of that good honey in there. So we're going to scrape all that out. And then I'm going to add my yeast to this. So I'm going to be using 1 tablespoon of instant yeast. So I have this. I like buying it in the glass jar. So I'm going to get 1 tablespoon. This is a teaspoon basically, so I'm going to put 2 in there. And so what we're going to do is we're going to leave this sitting for about, about 10 minutes. We're going to let this yeast hydrate in the water and the honey. We're going to leave that and let that yeast work before we start adding our flour to it. So I'll come back. So we have let the yeast work for 5 minutes. And so you can see the yeast working in there. It's bubbly in there. So now we're going to add the rest of our ingredients in there. We're going to put in 1 tablespoon. Let me grab a tablespoon. We're going to put in 1 tablespoon of salt. I don't know where my little measuring cup ones are, so I'm just going to use just a tablespoon. So we're going to put that in there, and we're going to put in, let's see, I'm looking at the recipe here. We're going to add butter. Instead of using olive oil, I decided to use melted butter. So I use real butter, and I actually put it on the stove. I do not use the microwave. So we're going to put the butter in there. And the recipe says for an extra fluff to add an egg. So I'm going to add 1 egg. This is one of our farm-raised eggs. Beautiful, isn't it? A little green one. So I'm going to go ahead and put an egg in there. Set that aside. Let's see what else we do. So I'm going to also add apple cider vinegar. So this calls to add either 2 teaspoons of lemon juice or 2 teaspoons of apple cider vinegar. So I don't have any lemon juice, so I'm going to use apple cider vinegar, and we always use the one with the mother in it. And this one's an organic one. So we're going to do 2 teaspoons of apple cider vinegar. 1, 2. Okay. And then we're going to add half of our flour. So it calls 4 to 5 cups, and I've already gone through and sifted it. And we're going to use half of the flour. We're going to go ahead and add in there. So then I'm going to put it on the mixing stand, and we're going to let it use the paddle. We're going to mix it for 1 minute, and then we're going to stop it, and we're going to let it rest for 15 to 20 minutes. And then we're going to put it back in the mixer with the dough hook, and we're going to add the remaining amount of flour until it begins to pull away from the bowl and is smooth. So let's go ahead and do that. And this is, I have the big Electrolux mixer I usually put my dough in, but to buy one of the attachments for that was like $300. So I bought this used KitchenAid mixer from my cousin for $100. So this is the first time I'm using it, and we're going to put this type of paddle on first. Figure out how to put it on. And we're going to turn it on and let it mix for 1 minute on low. So I'm going to check my watch, and we're going to do 1 minute for that, and then we're going to stop and leave it to rest for 20 minutes. So my yeast and my dough here has rested for 20 minutes. Now we're going to change out and put the dough hook on there, and we're going to add the rest of the flour. So we're going to do that. I'm going to put the dough hook. So this is already, it's nice and bubbly, and you can tell it's expanding. So we're going to go ahead and add the rest of the flour. Slowly, we're going to add it gradually as it turns, and we're going to let it knead that for 20 minutes. And then we're going to come back. We're going to pour it out and make loaves out of it. Put it in the loaf pans, which I've already greased with olive oil. And then we're going to let it rise double again. So we have to let this, actually, after we knead it for 20 minutes, we have to let it rise double in the bowl. And then we'll take it out and put it in the dough pans. In the loaf pans. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and turn this on, and then we're going to slowly add the rest of the flour to it. So we got it on low. Raise this bowl up. Now I'm just going to slowly add the rest of the flour in here. Once you break that kernel, within 72 hours it loses all of its nutrients. That's why you see on the bread they add nutrients back to the flour, because they remove all the good ingredients out of there. So if you grind your wheat and make your bread right away, it has all the nutrients and vitamins in it that we need. So this is why we're making our daily bread. You can see the dough is pulling across, away from the bowl, so that's how we want it to. So I just had to add some more flour because it was still too tacky and not pulling away from the bowl. So I'm going to let this knead for about 5 minutes, and then we're going to take it and let it rest, and we're going to let it rise double. So my dough has risen to double, so we're going to push it down, deflate it, and I've put some olive oil here so we can get it out of the bowl. Put it down. Don't want to lose any of it. So now we're going to take it and we're going to make it into loaves, and we're going to put it in the pan and let it rise double again. So I'm going to cut this in half. So we can get 2 loaves hopefully out of this. May just be enough to make one loaf, because it doesn't look like it would rise very big. I don't know if I should do 1 or 2. Here's the pan. I think that's just going to be enough to make 1 loaf. Looks like to me. So I'm going to put this back together. I'm going to put it in this pan. And we're going to let that rise to double, and then we are going to put it in the oven. So the loaf has risen to double, so we're going to go ahead and put it in the oven on 350 degrees for 30 to 40 minutes. So I put it on for 35 minutes, and we'll check it to see how it turns out. So we got the bread ready to come out of the oven. I'm going to go ahead and pull that out. Let's go ahead and dump it. So we want to get it out and put it on our cooling rack, and so let's check this out. It still looks a little dense. Maybe I put too much flour in it. So we're going to wait for it to cool, and then we're going to cut it and check it out. Make us a nice sandwich. I need to let it cool some more. It's still too hot.